Love India. I just love the food. Society shapes you. As you grow up, school shapes you. University shapes you. You go into the corporate world, it shapes you. I'm a mother.
I'll give her a minute. Okay, so it was my Alexa reminder. It was telling us to put the garbage outside.
Technology. Wonderful. I love that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Simplifying Life with Kashira. So, today I am sitting down with Rochelle Trow. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She's a strategic HR executive, board advisor, and executive coach with over 25 years of experience leading global transformations and helping leaders stay whole while leading others. And we're going to hear so much about her. So let's invite her. Rochelle, welcome.
Hello, Kashira. Thank you for inviting me to talk on your podcast. I really look forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about you beyond our LinkedIn post. Where do you live? What do you do? I know you've been in corporate. Are you still there? What are you doing currently in life? Yeah, so much more.
Well, where do you want to start? Well, I'll start with who am I? Literally, Rochelle. And I want to start by caveating that, by saying that I'm the observer of my life.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I'm the observer of my life is because I choose to just flow with what comes in front of me and experience life as it unfolds. Don't see things as good, bad, or ugly. I just see it as it's life, whatever.
Beautiful.
And so it's taken a long time to get to that place because at the end of the day, my body is, for want of a better word, the vehicle carrying who I am. I am somewhere in there just observing life as it unfolds and experiencing it. And then, of course, there are a few labels that are attached to me. Labels, by virtue of my life, I'm a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I have two amazing, well, they almost 17. They turn 17 next month.
Wow.
Live in Zurich. Walked and lived in multiple countries. I grew up in South Africa for the first 30 years. I then moved to the UK. I was only moving for 18 months, but I years, of course, had my amazing there who now see themselves as British. And I moved to Switzerland in 2019, now in Switzerland, in Zurich. Besides that, the other labels I have is I'm a founder of the Change Campaign, recently said. But if you ask me what else do I get up to, I'm in that messy middle of life where I've come out of a corporate and I still have to keep my foot in that corporate because whether I like it or not, as any entrepreneur, as a sole person with my own business, it's not going to pay the bills a long time. In fact, it doesn't make much money to do some of what I used to do. And it's been left corporate because I hate it. I left it because I have a higher purpose, greater calling. But I still dabble in the corporate world because I have. So that's in a nutshell who I am.
Wow. Just tell me about this, Rochelle. You said you moved out from corporate, and I'm sure you spent how many years you were in corporate?
25 plus years. Actually, no, I should recalculate. 30 plus, just over 30, but I spent 25 plus in HR, human resources.
Wow. And that is almost a lifetime, 25 years, 30 years. It's beautiful. So when you decided to take that step and step out of your corporate to do something, for example, what you're doing right now in life, did it ever pull you back or got you into doubts that whether I'll be able to make money out of it, whether it will let me, float or not? Uh, how was that phase of life when you were transiting? Because it is not easy.
I live that emotional anguish every day. It
Yeah.
never goes away. I mean, I've left corporate twice. Let me caveat that. First left corporate with burnout. To take 11 months out.
Mhm.
I needed to, and at that point, I needed to find out who I was because I read a book called The Untethered Soul. And in the book, it talks about who am I. And I
Yeah.
really didn't know who I was. So that set me on a journey. I then went back to corporate and I worked in corporate for another 18 months before I left again. I've now left corporate for the second time, not because I hate it, but because I need to work on my higher purpose. So I wrote my first book. And the reason why I'm so busy this week and flustered is I'm editing my next book because I have this greater purpose in life. So
So
what can I say?
talking about the greater purpose in life, when did you had that kind of enlightenment that maybe there is some other calling that I have, or maybe that is the purpose?
First week of October, the year before, not 25, 24, I went to a meditation retreat. And
Wow.
in that meditation retreat, I had the opportunity to experience sound healing and the
Yeah.
binaural sound beats and went into pretty deep meditative states. And so that weekend was an incredible experience. But that was the tipping point because that Monday after this meditation retreat, I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. My body just shot up and I sat up in bed and I'm like, I need to write.
Wow.
Now, I had started writing because I journal a lot. I had started writing what I said would be a book, and I was writing a book for my kids because when I asked my ex-husband for a divorce, they were too small. And I was writing this book to explain to them the choice I made. And I struggled and I got struggled to write this book. So it was sitting in the back end. And I went to this meditation retreat and suddenly I woke up, I need to write. I literally got up that morning and the chapters in the book that I've published is what I wrote that morning. I wrote the
Wow.
chapters of what I wanted to cover and I put it aside. And that started the process of writing. For the next 2 weeks, I just
Hmm.
wrote and wrote and wrote. I did nothing else but write. And I wrote the first version of the manuscript within 2 weeks because it was just coming out. And that process of writing is what got me to a place of making sense of my life. And in writing that book, my higher purpose emerged. I was writing the book for the kids, but in writing the book, it became clearer. I was like, I'm an HR executive. I've worked in HR. I've experienced so much. I've got so much knowledge, so much wisdom. I need to share. This is no longer a book for my kids. This is a book that needs to be shared with the world. So it emerged in the process of writing. It's as simple as that.
Wow. And when you wrote a couple of chapters of this particular book that we're talking about, it was after that that you got into corporate, or you were completely out of corporate?
Oh, this was after I left corporate. This
Uh,
meditation retreat, my job ended the 30th of September. This was the
okay.
first weekend of October. I think it was the 4th and 5th of October. My
Yeah.
first weekend away from my job, the second time that I left corporate,
Okay. Okay.
when this
And
emerged. So I had left without a plan. I didn't have a
wow.
plan.
Wow. And that needs a lot of courage to leave without a plan. So, okay. I'm thinking from another perspective. There are a lot of people in the world who've been working in corporate since ages, and a lot of them have this feeling that maybe I should leave and do something of my own, something that resonates and say that, okay, this is my brand, my personal brand, and I'm not represented by the organization I'm working in. A lot of us have that dream. But leaving without a plan is not everybody can fall, because a lot of us are worried about who will put the food on the table. Okay. And I remember you mentioned right now, and also in one of your posts, you spoke about that there was definitely that kind of a skepticism whether it will be able to keep you afloat or not. So, if you actually have to give from your experience, you have to give an advice to someone, would you say that if you have adequate amount of saving, it's okay to take that risk, take that jump, and believe in yourself and just go for it?
If you have at least 2 years worth of money,
Okay.
then yes.
Okay.
But actually, I don't believe that that's the answer.
Hmm.
And my higher purpose is actually all about keeping people in their jobs.
Okay. Expand on that, please.
I knew you would ask me to expand. What do I mean by that?
Yeah.
If you look at the world we live in today, firstly, I was in HR. All I did, or at least my latter years in HR, being in the executive level, I did a lot of restructuring, restructure after restructure. Now, I'm not saying restructures are bad. In order for organizations to exist, they have to exist in a sustainable way, which means, unfortunately, at times we have to get rid of the excess fat, or the business is taking a new strategic direction, or you're divesting, many reasons.
Yeah.
And every restructure I've ever done in my career, I've always walked away feeling proud that I treated people with respect. But I've also observed that there's a lot that doesn't happen with respect. So because of that, because of AI, because of all the dynamics in the world, people are being fed with insecurity.
Yeah.
So to take a risk on top of the fact that the world is, you cannot even guarantee you're going to have a job, is just
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
So how do we actually cope in a world that is moving in a way that drives greater levels of uncertainty? I don't even want to get into the political arena because that's a topic all on its own. But if you look at the politics of the different countries, you look at organizations today, it doesn't look like an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Let's be clear. But one of the biggest things I've learned in everything, in my 30 plus years working, if I have to take a long, hard look at myself in the mirror, there was never a problem with the organization. There was never a problem with the other people. The biggest issue was always me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look deep enough within myself in order to make myself strong enough to cope with the chaos around me. Because let's be clear, the world will not change. The chaos
Yeah.
will not change. Organizations that are constantly restructuring, the fear of losing your job, none of that's going to change in the short term or in the long term.
Yeah.
So the only person, if I look at my experience, the only person that could have changed was myself. And that's a long story in its own. Then the better way to look at it is, are you strong enough to stand firmly wherever you are, whatever job you're in, whichever organization, anywhere? Are you strong enough to cope with everything that's going on around you? And that for me is what I want to work on, because I don't want people to give up on things because they think it's wrong. I think there's a lot wrong with the world. If we're trying to fix the world, trying to fix the organization, we start pointing outwards and we don't look inwards.
Yeah. What you're pointing us towards is the reality of the world we're living in. And I remember yesterday I was speaking to my husband. We went out for a quick walk, and this is what we were talking about. We cannot change the world. We cannot, uh, we just, like I like to call it weak minded people and strong minded people. And weak minded just because they're not aware deeply about who they are, you know, and everything starts by accepting and understanding who I am, who Kashira is. For example, you've been in HR for 30 years. Like the way we have these big organizations, they have their values decided, they have their missions, they have their vision, right? We as an individuals, we are our own organization. But most of the times, we are not clear what is our values, what is our mission, what is our vision. And that is where we just get up that, okay, today we are studying, tomorrow we have a job, and we just keep going with our days ins and out. But what you rightly said, when you sit with yourself and you try to understand who are you as an entity, and you start getting all the answers. And that healing, self healing, that transformation starts right from there. Because more and more you get the understanding of yourself, you start feeling that, oh, I've been blaming others for this. I had to be the bigger person and understand, who I am. Because when you know who are you, you'll stop arguing with people who do not align with your values. You'll save your energy over there.
Yeah.
Instead of putting the blame and passing the buck on people, you'll be like, all right, it's okay, continue. Because,
Although,
yeah,
I was
yeah, go
just going to
ahead.
say, why I want to do this work is because of exactly that. You say we have to start healing. That's true. We
Yeah,
all need some level of healing. But I
yeah,
have so much compassion for people in the sense
yeah,
that whether we like it or not, the world we brought into is so, I won't say it's cruel, but it's complex.
yeah,
From the moment we come out of our parents' wombs, our mother's womb, depending on the circumstances in which you were born, shapes you.
yeah, yeah,
As you grow up, school shapes you,
yeah,
university shapes you. You go into the corporate world, it shapes you. Society shapes you. I grew up in South Africa during apartheid. I was labeled, I was shaped by that.
yeah,
So, unfortunately, especially if you're not strong within you, you are going to be pulled by all the shaping that's happening around you. And what I've observed in corporate life is corporate life reinforces the things that shaped you as a kid. But actually, the things that shaped you as a kid were only they shaped you in and you developed them or your beliefs as to the way things should happen to protect yourself.
yeah,
All that you do is you come into this world curious. You come in with nothing but emotions. What happens to us as kids? Logic
yeah,
takes over, the world takes over, and we develop protective mechanisms. But
yeah,
we build such big castles around ourselves. I always say the word armor or masks,
yeah,
that at a point you get to your life where those protective barriers become a hindrance. They stop you from opening up. They
yeah.
literally close you down and shut you down. So I have so much empathy for people who don't know how to look within themselves.
I echo with every word that you said, Rochelle. And bless you on this journey. And I really hope that you meet a lot of people and they get benefited from the work that you're doing, and they're able to, yeah, they're able to see within themselves and transform them. Yeah. You spoke about growing in, like when we are kids, our the environment that we grow in, and that has a huge impact on the kind of fears that we develop in our lives, our childhood traumas, and I want to understand, how was your childhood, Rochelle? What kind of environment you were born and brought up? Yeah.
Uh, I'm one of 11 children.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm from a
Okay.
very big family, and I'm the baby. I'm the last
You
born.
you're the last one. Okay. Okay.
So I'm sure you can just picture how that feels. By the time the last born was born, there was you just there. I shouldn't say that. My mother had her hands full. Um, my mother was Indian father, mixed
Oh,
race
wow.
mother,
Okay.
grew up, started life as Muslim because her dad was Muslim, and her
Okay.
mom was I don't think she was Catholic. Her mom was some Presbyterian. Oh, I don't know the religion, but ultimately, when she met my dad, she became a Catholic. And so the context for that is Catholics do not take back then did not believe in birth control. So she had all these kids as a result of her marriage. By the time I came along, she was obviously, her hands were full. She was trying to do her best. I was the perceived healthy baby because my
Mm-hmm.
brother, who was about a few years older than me, wasn't well. My sister, who was born also just above me, wasn't that great. And I was the one who was perceived healthy. So my childhood was spent fed, cleaned, put back in the cot. I didn't get that love, those hugs, that, pampering that we give out. I don't know if you have kids, but that we give our children today.
Mm-hmm.
So my inability to connect with emotions started right from my birth. Compound that with being one of 10, crazy household, and I'm an introvert. I'm somebody who likes to go inward. So growing up in this noisy household, growing up in apartheid, going to a mixed race school, all these things, getting into retail, wanting to become a lawyer, having to give that up because I hated it, then going into retail, accepting my first failure. You can imagine I was shaped in many, many, many ways. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I succeeded because I was able to move to the UK for a job. So I climbed, but I climbed with no connection to emotion. Focus that I need to do a lot of stuff. I need to earn love. Well, not love. I didn't even know what I was earning. In order to be accepted, I needed to work hard and I needed to deliver and I needed to prove myself. So my entire life was shaped on you look after yourself, you work hard, and you deliver. Not a good recipe for success. I achieved, but at a great cost.
Okay. Do you want to expand on that?
Well, I had my career just went like that. You know, I never had to look for a job. Every job I ever got was through being approached either by a headhunter or by somebody. So moving from South Africa to London, I was doing some work for Unilever in the South African business, and the work that I did there was recognized globally, and they invited me to come to London to set up a global finance academy. But of course, here's this humble South Africa going to London, and I don't speak the Queen's English, as in the British way of speaking English. I'm very short, sharp, focused. And going and working in our global headquarters at Unilever, but that was through an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But for the big difference is it was the first time in my life I was accepted for who I was and not the color of my skin or not the label that I carried as colored, not the community I grew up in. I was just accepted as a person and I thrived. My career just went upwards, promotion after promotion. I've worked for 7 different organizations. Um, I worked right at the top of the organization supporting presidents. So I've had an amazing career. But the cost was every achievement I had, it was almost as if I moved further and further away from the child I was in South Africa. I was completely lost. I'd I just lost connection with me, who I was. And that's why when I read the book, The Untethered Soul, Who Am I was going, I have no clue. I have all the external markers of success. I earn a lot of money. I've got houses. I've got a husband. I've got twins. We have a wonderful social life. We travel all over the world, but I'm empty. So the cost was achieving external markers of success or what people see as successful, but me feeling lost and empty.
When you were a little baby, when you were growing up in that big family, uh, what were your dreams at that point in time? Did you, ever had that thing that maybe one day I'll be this person, and the way a lot of kids have thoughts that maybe one day I'll become a big person, and there's different definition of being big for different people. Do you recall any such memories of that time? What were you used to
Uh,
think?
my earliest memory of what I wanted to be is an author.
Wow.
And that was reading books under the bed with the flashlight. I loved reading, but I used reading as a kid as an escape. It was to block out the chaos. It was to block out the world. I used to go to the local library where, I lived in a mixed race in the South African old context. So we lived in a colored community, which we had to live by skin type.
Yeah, I get.
And so I went to obviously I come from very humble beginnings. And so I'd go and borrow books at the library. I read most of the books in that library. So, but it was my escape. It was my escape from my alcoholic brother who would get drunk and perform. And my mother would send us to the bedroom whilst he was performing. But of course, now I know he was performing because he had his own issues. Back then, I didn't know it. We all came out of our family with some level of scarring, some level of self-beliefs. And back then, as a kid, he was an adult, I used books as an escape. So my first dream was that.
You are ultimately living the dream that you had when you were a kid of being an author.
Well, now, I didn't think it was possible because my English would be criticized. So I was like, am I ever going to be able to write a book? But I've just proven to myself it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And you speak so well. I mean, I'm sure you have seen a huge development, but I think when we look at years ago, I would say decades ago, things were still very rigid about or when people speak in English in a particular way. But I think now it's more acceptable, people being more open to when they are working with global people. Uh, but you speak really well.
Oh yeah, that's the polishing that I had whilst living in the UK, almost
Yeah,
20 years. But I had to work at that because I
yeah,
was called a
absolutely.
rough diamond, at some point in my life. Why was I
Okay.
called that? Was because I was very good at what I did, but I didn't always land my message as well. I didn't because I had no emotional connection. Remember, I said that
Yeah,
emotions was like foreign. Caring about somebody, for me, being direct was normal.
yeah,
Saying what you think without thinking about the impact on the other person is because I never learned that as a kid.
yeah,
So my
yeah.
entire corporate career, I had coaches, I had lots of polishing, I went on the best leadership development program. So yes, I can speak better.
And yes, one has to work on the whatever areas they have to improve. It definitely requires a lot of conscious efforts. It's a lot of hard work, When people look at the tip of the iceberg, people feel, oh, this person is doing really good. But there's a story, there's a background to what they are coming up with. Uh, so yeah, definitely, it's a lot of hard work that goes in that. Uh, do you have any fears now, Rochelle?
My greatest fear is that I can live my dream and provide for my kids. I mean, I've reframed what success means. But my
Mhm.
greatest fear is that I want to get my kids through university. That is paramount and important. And where I am right now, as I said, you need 2 years of money in order to set up a business to be able to not earn. Yes, fortunately, I'm privileged enough to be able to have a little bit of a buffer. But as the buffer gets closer, I kind of go, oh my God, my kids are in these very expensive international school, and I will not compromise on their education because when I think about my own education, I
Yeah.
just, that's not, I'd compromise on having a vacation over school fees because it's so important. So, of course, I have financial concerns, but is it stopping me right now? No. Am I
Mhm.
realistic about it? Am I making sure I have contingency plans? Yes, I'm working. That's why I have to work on projects. I've got to do some corporate HR work. I don't have a choice. I
Mhm.
love it. It's just not what I want to do in the long term. But I do enjoy it when I do it. It's
Mhm.
just not my first love. And I want to live my life with my first love in books, in helping
Mhm.
others.
Mhm.
So, yes, my fear is finances every day.
Yeah.
Not afraid of anything. I'm not even afraid to die, but I want to make sure my kids.
That's beautiful. And also, what do you think about people being scared of the uncertainties of life? One, you just casually mentioned that you're not scared of dying, but a lot of people are. And more than like it falling on themselves, this is about losing their family members. I remember just last night, I was having a conversation with one of my ex boss, and I address him as Papa. So we just have a beautiful relationship over the years, and we were having this conversation at how most of the times uh, we keep our mental bandwidth occupied thinking about, oh, how's my husband? Especially for women, oh, how's my husband? How's my kid? Are they okay or not? And half of the time they are thinking about them. The mental bandwidth is taken by all those thoughts because they are not able to come over those uncertainties. So this is what I was telling him, and he could relate with everything I was saying because he said that yeah, it happened. It used to happen when my mother was alive, and now with my wife, even she stays worried with the kids, their future. He's got two daughters, so his wife stays worried. Oh, what will happen? You know, how will they get married? About their education and everything. And that is a genuine fear, the genuine fear of uncertainties. I think all the parents have it. But my take on this, and I think it could be a little pragmatic approach, but this is how I think is that instead of being worried about the uncertainty, you just go by every day, live every day, do the best you could in your capacity, and just leave what you cannot control.
That's
And
exactly my point.
yeah,
But take
I,
note, Kashira. I didn't say I worry about them. I worry about can I.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So in your case, it's about whether you can provide or how things will be, you know. Do you think it is because they're in habit of living in that fear or or having that feeling uh of that victim mentality that uh I don't know, maybe I'm
Yeah.
not able to explain it correctly, but
No,
are
I
you
get
getting
what
what
you're
I'm trying to
saying.
say? Yeah.
Fear is actually it's an interesting word because fear is actually a protective mechanism because
Yeah.
fear protects us. It's like a signal that something's not working and that we should it almost protects us for most of our life. That
Yeah.
the issue with fear is when we give it too much voice. Nobody's
Yeah.
saying don't be afraid. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a simple tool that I use with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
Say to them, because as you rightly say, Kashira, you can control nothing else except yourself. So I say to
Yeah.
my clients, think of fear as a smoke alarm. What's the purpose of a smoke alarm? Smoke alarm
Mm-hmm.
is a device in your house or
Mm-hmm.
business that gives you an early warning signal. So if it's an early warning signal, what
Mm-hmm.
early warning signals do you get? You
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in your house, you get the burnt toast, the alarm goes off because the smoke from the toast. Or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you get this, too much smoke in the kitchen because you burnt some oil and the pot's, half blazing, which is a little bit bigger than burnt toast, but it's smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there's a real fire. So how do I differentiate? So I say to them, Burnt
Mm-hmm.
toast is I am being triggered by something in my past
Mm-hmm.
that is causing me to believe something is the
Mm-hmm.
way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So treat fear as if it's just something you're being triggered by.
Mm-hmm.
Understand it, accept it, acknowledge it, and know that it's a trigger and
Yeah.
address the trigger. Don't let it consume you. If it's smoke, yeah, it may be slightly bigger. It's telling you, it's giving you a warning that, hey, you're overweight, you're really going to be sick, you're going to get ill, or it's bigger. It's something bigger.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if it's a fire, it's pressing on your values. It's going against the core of who you are. You're having a visceral reaction to it. So if you're treating fear as a smoke alarm,
Mm.
you can contextualize. It's only a trigger. I can deal with it. It's a warning signal telling me to do something about it. Or, oh my God, it's compromising who I am. It's my values. I need to get out. By separating your fear into buckets, you know how to deal with it. But once again, the focus is on you. You need to deal with it.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly having burnt toast, then maybe you need some help to dig into what are those beliefs that are holding you back.
Yeah.
If you're in
Yeah.
having a fire and it's your values constantly compromised,
Yeah.
then you need serious help.
True.
Fear is fear. We are never going to get rid of fear. We have
Yeah.
to help people understand it. That is exactly why I want to do the work that I'm doing. Because the work
Yeah.
that I'm doing is to help people understand what are those self beliefs that have become unhelpful. And then what do you do about it? How do you anchor yourself down?
Yeah.
And one of the first things I talk about in anchoring down is awareness. The first
Mm-hmm.
step is awareness.
Yeah.
Then you set boundaries. But you can't set boundaries if you have no awareness.
True.
Can you align to your values if you have no awareness and no boundary setting? Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Aligning to your values and your purpose and your vision and your higher purpose only happens after those things.
Absolutely. Very true. Very true.
But fear will always come back. So part of my book ends with fear is never going to go away. It's there.
Yeah.
Life is never going to change. The chaos of the world we're in is never going to change. So the
Yeah.
only person you can focus on is you. So
Yeah.
part of my new book is all about how do you deal with self-beliefs that have been unhelpful? How do you strengthen yourself inside? It's not to remove the fear. It's to help you cope with it. It's to help you make better decisions. And it's to
Yeah.
help you move from a place of being stuck.
People saying you can be friends with your fear. Do you believe that?
Yes. That's why I say
Yeah.
it's an early warning signal. It's like, okay, you telling me something? Great. I know you a fire, so I'm going to deal with you like I treat a normal fire. Or you
Yeah.
burnt toast, I'm going to treat you like burnt toast. It
Yeah.
also gives proportionality to fear because we sometimes go into states of anxiety worrying about things.
Yeah. And a little hypothetical, but when I try to imagine life without without thinking about future, without thinking about past, and when I try to live just in the moment, everything looks so beautiful. Everything looks so beautiful, and I start seeing the opportunities in life. I start seeing that, oh my God, there is so much to life. There is so many things I can do. But when I'm constantly thinking about past and future, I'm always like stressed. And many times I don't have the reason of why I'm stressed. Sometimes my husband is like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. It just feels that everything is right. Nothing really has gone wrong. But because my mind is dwelling in past and the future, I'm always worried. So, getting aware of yourself, that solid, deep understanding, and understanding the fact, I mean, the second thing that we spoke about, that things that you can't control, just let them go respectfully. Let them go. Okay, let them do their job. And Rochelle, one thing that has really helped me in not being bothered about life's uncertainties, in bold and underlined life's uncertainty is that I've understood and started believing in one powerful line, and that is that whatever happens in life happens for the best. And since the time I've started believing in that, I have started being fearlessly living my life. I'm not bothered what will happen tomorrow, whether I'll have the job that I have, whether my podcast will do or not, whether I'll meet good people or not, whether, I lose somebody. I don't even think about those things because I just know that there is some kind of, super energy that is around me. There is, I believe in karma, I believe in
Yeah.
energies, I believe in manifestation, I believe in meditation, all of those, spirituality, I believe in all of those things. And I know that there is some higher power energy that is, that is protecting me, and I'm always going to be in a better place. I've just feeded that thought in my brain. It wasn't easy. I literally had to condition my mind to understand this fact. But since the time I have understood, things are so different. I see the world with a fresh lens. And since
I
then, I
totally
got,
agree with you.
yeah,
I agree with you 100%. I love that. That's
yeah.
amazing.
That's amazing. And that energy, when we start radiating that energy, we start meeting with all the right kind of people in our life. All the right kind of things start happening in life. I know all of you people, I'm so grateful for this. Like, I'm getting to meet you. It would have never happened had I been in that era, wherein my only escort was to cry, sit in corner, crib about things, crib about my life. I have lived that life. I have for a very long time,
Yeah.
because my childhood has been a little, not a little, complicated, and that filled me. I still carry some of my childhood trauma and all those feelings and everything. So for a very longer period in my life, I have lived in that phase wherein I'm just crying and crying and crying about everything. But fortunately for me, I got this opportunity to see the other side of the life, and there is so much of beauty in it. Uh, just like you said, that your higher purpose is to keep people in their jobs, help them understand life, about understanding themselves. I feel so much for people, Rochelle. Like, I really feel that I got that opportunity to see the other side of the life. I wish I could do something that even if I'm able to touch one life in some way, I'd love to, guide them and tell them that, look, there is other side of the life where you can be and you can come out of all these cribbings and naggings that you are in. Yeah, so with that passion, with that purpose, I am moving on in my podcasting journey and trying to share my insights with the world. But for the people, who gonna listen to us or watch us, I really want to tell them that there is another side of the life. There is light there, and it's not difficult to reach there. Everything starts by understanding yourself. That is the launch pad, right, Rochelle?
Absolutely. It all starts with you. It starts and it stops with you.
Yeah,
We have the power. And I 100% align with you. There's a higher purpose. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I believe in
I,
a higher purpose. I believe in serendipity. I believe that the energy you put out into the world, you attract that energy back.
yeah.
And it's just like meeting you. It's
Beautiful.
serendipitous. I could not have picked it up. And the energy that I get from you in having this conversation, the energy that I get from engaging with your posts, it's who would have known that we don't know each other? It's the first time we're meeting each other. It's like,
Yeah.
but we are so connected. We connected in the sense that we both just living life.
Yeah.
But as you say,
Yes.
we can make a difference with the energy we give.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's really beautiful. So we still have few minutes left, Rochelle. And I want to ask you, because you've been HR, the title with which a lot of employees kind of stay away. So I so I want to understand from you, if there is one internal insight that you can share with people from HR's perspective, especially for people who are in corporate, what would that be? It could be anything.
Firstly, that we are human beings also. We are people just like every other employee in the business.
Mhm,
And sometimes HR gets a really bad reputation. And actually, in many cases, I can agree with the reputation. I can agree because sometimes as HR, we don't really have much power.
mhm,
So we tend to execute decisions on behalf of the business leaders that we work on. Yes, we can push, and I know this firsthand because even at the top end of the business, I have not been successful in getting business leaders to agree. We don't
mhm,
hold the power, and we are
mhm,
human beings. The
mhm,
job of being an HR person is not easy.
mhm,
If I think about my burnout was caused by me firstly, but it was also because I didn't have good enough boundaries because I wanted to be a great HR person. I took on everybody's stress. I was doing
mhm,
my day job at night because I would spend my time talking to people and restructuring and managing stakeholders and all sorts of stuff.
mhm.
We are human, just like you. That for me is the single biggest thing I would say. But HR's job is a lot harder.
Have you ever had any kind of, colleague who was not part of HR, but they still, confided in you and shared things with you? Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but I've had lots of people confide in me.
That's wonderful. And have you been in those kind of uh, a space wherein you had to speak publicly or maybe address the entire organization? And given that you were not coming from that background wherein you were fluent with the language, but then you learned. So, did you ever had any challenges with public speaking?
uh, Challenge, yes. Challenge because I had this inferior complex that I was not good enough. And so I spent so much time rehearsing what I was going to say to make sure I followed the corporate script. Because
Right.
when you presenting at big town halls or to large groups at conferences, you kind
Yeah.
of have to stick to your script.
Yeah.
The downside with that is because I was so focused on speaking the script, I lost the authenticity. So at one point, I remember in my last job, the job I left for
Mhm.
burnout, I remember speaking at a conference, saying words that I had rehearsed in my head, but my body language must have been saying, she doesn't even believe what she's saying. And it's true. So my experience of public speaking was not good because I over indexed on trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
Now I'm the opposite. I go into every podcast unplanned. Yes, I get given questions. I read them, I think about them, and I put it aside. And then I go in and I chat. I mean, we didn't even talk about what we were going to talk about. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And that is such a beautiful message for anybody who's going to be speaking publicly, that being authentic and being speaking about what you believe in is so important. Garbage. Okay, so it was my Alexa reminder. It was telling us to put the garbage outside.
Technology, wonderful. I love that. You're embracing
Uh,
technology. Yes, you're
yeah.
right. You need a reminder.
So, Rochelle, thank you so much for sharing your profound insights and for reminding us that leadership isn't about perfection, it's about presence, balance, and staying connected to who we are. And to everyone listening, I hope today's conversation helped you pause and reflect on how you can lead your own life with a little more clarity and little more wholeness. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Until next time, take care.
Love India. I just